So if you've ever watched Martin Kovac on Night Shift Models, um, you've probably seen him use sea balls, which is just a natural thing that you take and you kind of crumble up, and it gives you all these little tiny bits of things that in scale resemble branches and limbs and stuff like that, depending on the scale. In 1/35th scale, this looks like small branches. In 1/20th scale, it looks like, clumps of grass. But apparently what this stuff is here it says it's a natural Mediterranean sea item made of the fibrous remnants from the foliage of seagrass. And apparently it just starts gathering up and bundling up into these little balls and washes up on beaches and places. I've never seen it, but I've been wanting some of this because I thought this would be a great way to have some scatter on my any dioramas or bases, or even just weathering on treads or feet of mecha or anything like that. I mean, there's a lot of uses for it. Well, I'd gone to some local craft stores and tried to describe to them what it was, and you go into a craft store and you say, "Hey, I'm looking for some sea balls." It's not a way to make friends and influence people real easily. I mean, they were helpful. I tried to describe what it was, and they showed me some things that they had that were similar, but they were all artificial, or just various other things that, while useful, and I may or may not have bought some of those, they were not the thing I was looking for, because I wanted to. I've liked the way that these look on Martin's work, and I told myself I want to get the real thing if they're not too expensive, and try them out. So I ordered them, and I'll put a link down below. I ordered them from an eBay store called Leah's Garden, and now it's not a modeling site. It's all about gardening. There's seeds and plants and all sorts of stuff, but they got these sea balls, and you can buy them in different bags. I got the small ones. You can buy larger ones. Now I wish I would have just bought maybe like one or two really big ones, because you can see I've got a good number here, and I doubt in my lifetime I'll go through every one of these. So I've got plenty here, but they're very hard. They crumble easily, but they're quite tough. I showed this to my wife, and she was like, that's just grass and whale poop." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, anytime you get into the ocean, you have to realize you're in the fish's toilet." But anyway, there's plenty of them in here, and I can't remember, but I think with shipping it may have come out to $5 or $6, maybe just a little more than that, about what I would have expected to pay in a craft store, quite honestly. But these are interesting. I haven't made use of them yet, but I'm going to make use of them on future projects. Like I said, I've seen Martin do it, and it just adds a nice element to weathering. And I've used other things, like there's some Vallejo weathering products that have texture in them that looks like it's natural material, but some of it is much heavier grained than this. Some of it is not as distinct. It looks less limb or twig like, and so I've not found anything that really does what this seems to do. So I'm looking forward to using that. But if you've been looking for some, check out the link to Leah's Garden, and maybe pick up a bag of them. Now, in the last vlog, I had talked about adding some future over the underside of the Storm Beetle and the results on this dirty down rust, and that it just kind of moderated the tones a bit, kind of brought it into the mid-tone area, killed the darker, killed the lighter stuff, but left a rusty appearance. And I had wondered what a clear coat with something more lacquer based would do. So I used Mr. Super Clear, Gunz's Clear matte spray. Now it's a lacquer based spray, and I sprayed it on lightly. On this side I did it lightly, multiple very quick, very light passes, built it up in about 6 or 7 passes, letting it dry a little bit between each pass. And then I did this one in 2 or 3 heavy passes. Now, what ended up happening was the heavier passes did pretty much what the Future did on the other one. They kind of moderated the tones a little bit. Now, seemed to shift it more towards the darker end rather than the mid-tones, but it lost a lot of that, not all of it. It retained more of it than the stuff sprayed with Future, but it lost some of those brighter yellows, those colors there, when I did it in a heavier. So definitely it seemed to do better with a lacquer-based product and lighter passes. I guess the more liquid that gets on it, I mean, as I've seen when I'm working with it, the more liquid that gets on it, the more it's going to change the color. And I'm assuming that the color variation comes from, and this is me just guessing, but I'm assuming it comes from reacting with oxygen. I mean, that's what makes rust anyway. There's something in here that's reacting with, I believe, oxygen. And when you put a clear coat over it, it wets it, which would normally, if I used water on this, it would normally start bringing out all those tones. But when I use a clear coat over it, it wets it, but then it seals it in and it doesn't have access to oxygen. Now, I'm no scientist and I'm just guessing, but I'm thinking, okay, the logic makes sense to my little brain. But you can see here I did it lightly, here I did it heavy. Now what I'm going to test now, does it seal it in? So let me wipe it here, and you can see that it appears to be sealed in under this heavier coat, and that's a good thing. It's not, I mean, there's maybe just the barest hint of color, because I wasn't real thorough with my rattle can application. I just sprayed it over the doggone thing. Yeah, you can see that on some of the places on the edge, I may not have got it, but right there in the middle, where I concentrated the spray, it looks like it's doing good. Now let me go to the other side where I did the lighter application, because I was trying to be real careful not to flood this area. Over here, yep, the lighter application sealed it in too. I'm getting up more color, but it's leaving behind a lot more than it did. So that's still, yeah, you see I can still pull it up. It's almost like chipping fluid. So it works. I'm just not sold on it. All of the beautiful tones you get when you apply it, it seems that when you try to put something down to seal it, that will adequately seal it against moisture so you can work on it over that, just doesn't do it. Now, if I'm missing something, if you've got some, if you've done something that you've put over it that works better, let me know, because I would like to know. But right now, yeah, I was not super impressed the first time, especially given the cost here in the U.S. And now with this bit of information, I'm even less than impressed. Great stuff, but just not real workable.